Coming to you from the heart in the Northwest, where truly 7 out of 10 queers prefer flannel. It's the QueerCentric with your host, Queerly Johnny.
Welcome back to another amazing, because it's always amazing, rendition of the QueerCentric. This must mean it's Tuesday, because that's when it drops.
Yeah, that checks out.
Right? That's pretty good. And we're very excited. So this is another one of our new format shows. We have a lot of exciting people in the room, and I think a really good subject matter. People email me all the time about weird stuff, or not weird, but just deeper issues. And I thought, let's just jump into those things. But I do want to welcome to the mic Corey Fortune.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
We did discover before we went on air that this is your 803rd time on the show.
That's what we think, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
What podcast number are we actually on?
21.
Okay, cool.
I know, right?
That's awesome.
Been at this.
It's legal. I can drink now.
You missed last week's show.
Wait,
we
I
had
thought
a
it was-
nice little toast with some wine.
I thought it was 20. I'm off.
We would have to, right, 21. Yeah. We'll have to ship you some wine so that you can toast with us.
Yeah.
Corey, a member of this amazing community that we have, outspoken, not afraid to share your opinion. We learned for the first time in as long as I've known you that you're a lender. So that's good.
I am a lender.
You're a lender, and you do great work in the community. And
Thank you.
So welcome back to the show. We also are excited to welcome special guest, Johnny Manuel. Now, he's a recording artist, singer-songwriter. He's been on a ton of shows and been at this since you were 14. Is that right?
That's right.
Are you tired?
I'm just getting started now.
Right? I mean, you've been through a lot. You've learned lots of, we're going to talk a little bit about it, all of the things that you've been through. We're going to talk about your new EP. You're going to let us play one of your awesome songs. And honestly, for everybody who's listening, you can find him on Spotify, Johnny Manuel, and listen to some really good music, or just deep dive on YouTube, and you can see so much stuff. Like your official videos, and also all of the, from, The Voice to America's Got Talent, or is it England? Someone had talent.
America's Got Talent. That's right.
Yeah. And you were always out there, and I think there's an Eurovision as well. That's
right. I did do Eurovision.
Yeah. Do you ever do so much stuff you forget what you've done?
No, never. I do forget how many songs I've recorded, because there's just I'll be going through a file or something and I'll hear 4 or 5 songs that I completely have forgotten that I'd ever recorded. So I do that.
Wow. You'll be like Bette Midler likes to talk about how she'll be on stage and she's been around for so long, she doesn't remember. She's like, I don't remember half the shit I've done or the lyrics to most of them.
As long as she doesn't forget beaches, I'm good.
Exactly. I know, but she is my goddess. Let's be honest. Bette Midler is my goddess. If you ever get to meet her, Johnny, I need you to call me. I've met you one time for 5 minutes. I still need you to call me.
Will do.
I love it. Well, one of the things I want to talk about is your new EP is called Younger Skin.
That's right.
You have, I believe there's 4 songs on it, correct?
Yeah.
And it's Crash, which is a great song. Out of Time, The Others, which is a powerful message song for sure. And so, like I said, you can go check it out on Spotify to listen to these great music and then buy them. That's what I want to say. Support indie artists. Support artists that give you some passion. But one of the things I want to say before we get into our discussion is Younger Skin, I believe, speaks a lot to how you show up in your world, how we show up as who we are, because you talk about the reason for Younger Skin is because you're finally getting more comfortable with the person you thought you would become. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. So like you said, I was signed when I was 14 is when I got my first contract with a major label, and I sort of just got swept up into the system. And before I knew it, I'm from Flint, Michigan, and they had moved me and my family to LA to record a record, and then I lived in Atlanta and was recording in New York. And so I just got into this world. And then before I knew it, I was on tour. So I was touring with people like NSYNC for their Pop Odyssey thing, and other
so
pop
excited
acts.
for that.
Yeah, it was really, really exciting time. And then it all just sort of stopped. And I felt like it was so short-lived and I never got a chance to sort of fully live out that dream, and I've been pursuing it ever since.
How in the world do you go from you're doing it in America and now you were in Australia and you were doing The Voice in Australia and then you were doing Eurovision? How?
Oh, it's been a long journey, but I did America's Got Talent first. That was in 2017. And I sang a Whitney Houston song. I sang I Have Nothing, and it went really viral. And after that happened, because, like when I first got signed, there was no like internet, there was no like real social media platforms. And so once I did America's Got Talent, that's what happened. Social media really picked it up and it went viral on YouTube and all these other places. And then people around the world started hearing it and asking me to come and perform. And one of the people was a producer from Bulgaria and asked me to do Eurovision with them in 2018.
And that was with a group called Equinox, right?
Yeah, there were 5 of us. There were 2 Americans. So Trey, who wrote the song, is also American. And then we had to have Bulgarians on stage. And so there were 3 Bulgarians with us.
Nice. I have to say, Corey, so because I sent Corey, because he was coming on, I sent him your newest video and, I want to get it. This is what I think is funny about what you just said. He's like, well, when I started at 14, there was no, internet. Look at this wonderful man over here and
right?
tell me. I the whole time was like, well, he's 20. And so this statement, I'm like, yeah.
Well, and then touring with NSYNC, I'm like, wait a second. Like I went to like 3 of their tours when I was, a baby. So like, okay. I'm like, so you went like as like a sperm? Like, come on now. Like, how old were you really?
Right. Johnny was 3 years old, and then it took him on. But I'm sure you get that a lot because it is. You've been at it for so long, and listen. We need to release a skincare regime, and because I need it.
I think it's just genes. People always tell me I look really young, but my mom looks really young. And I just think that's what it is, really.
Right.
That is the worst answer ever.
There is
for
a
those
phrase
of us
that I won't say. But
yes, yeah. We all know what you're thinking. Well, let's get into referencing this younger skin and this. Why was it important to you to be vulnerable and to show up as who you are more with this EP than you had mentioned in interviews than you felt like you were able to prior?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me when they hear me saying, okay, you've been doing this a really long time and you're obviously very talented. Why do you think it hasn't happened for you? And a lot of why I believe personally it didn't happen for me is because I'm gay. And I think R&B music was at the root of it. And there's a real stigma around Black male artists singing R&B music as gay men. I've never seen an out and open gay Black man do R&B music. I've never seen it.
Right.
And so I think it was, a bit of that for me. And so this time in my life where I am now, completely out and very proud and married and happy, and there is just no way around me being honest, right? And telling my story truthfully, but I'd never gotten that opportunity. And so I felt like with Younger Skin, it was imperative that I do that. If I'm going to give it a real go, I mean, I've never stopped trying, right? But I feel like now it's different. I feel like this time around, it's really, I don't know, the needle has been moved in a way where I don't feel like it can be turned back. Like it's this train is moving. And so I'm very, very happy that from the inception, and I really truly do feel like this is the inception of Johnny Manuel as an artist. It was imperative that I was honest and I was truthful and I told my story in a way that I could be proud of and, not hide anything.
See, and I think that's amazing. And so let's dig into it. Corey, I sent you just a sentence. Typically, I send you like a ton of articles. I just said, representation matters. How do you show up? So let's just start with why does it matter to you personally in your life? Why does it matter?
It's one of those things that and again, I'm still shocked that you're not 12 years old. So
I know we have to recover.
But it's one of those things that I often say that I wish that I want to be the person that I didn't have. I didn't have a queer male icon to look up to. Oh my God, I did not call myself an icon. I did not do that. I did not have
for some of us, you are our icon, Corey.
I didn't have a positive queer role model to look up to. To the fact that I had a gay grandfather that I didn't know he was gay until I came out 10 years after he passed, because my parents didn't think they hid it from us. And, that would have been super powerful to me as a kid growing up without a lot of queerness in the media, me not being able to identify what this thing is that's different about me than everyone else, aside from the negative stereotypes or the slurs, that kind of stuff. And now I want to have a younger generation that, kids are coming out at 10, 11, 12, if not younger. I would have been able to do that had I had the representation above me to show me who I was and that it was going to be okay.
And talk about being comfortable in our skin. If we could have done that, or if we had the support at a younger age to do that, I think we would have made, you made that more comfortable in our skin. And speaking of this, is this kind of what you speak to in The Others, which is also on your EP?
Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm saying that I feel like I have a responsibility now. I owe it to my ancestors, the people that came before us, that were brave enough to live out and proud back then. And for the ones who weren't able to do that, I feel like it's extremely important that we all, use our voices and live in our truths and help the next generation of people. So that's exactly what The Others is about. Yeah.
And just like for me, I always say, if was born with this want to be loud, I was born with this want to stand and make a stand for things, that if I have that in me, I don't have the right to lessen that and let it go, because until everyone can stand up beside me, the ones of us that are loud and are willing to stand on platforms, then we need to keep doing it until those kids can do it. And I think, like you said, it's for, Corey, you talk about your grandfather you didn't even know. Mm-hmm. Johnny's talking about his ancestors and doing it for those before him. We do it for those in our past in order to have a future.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's right. So that's what I love about your EP, is it's so vulnerable, but it's not easy. So why then do you think it matters, especially in the entertainment industry? Why does it matter? Why is it important to show up, to represent?
Well, I think it's like what you just touched on, right? Because there's a generation of people coming after us that need for us to open these doors. And, it's like Lil Nas X, right? Like I admire and respect so much of what he's been able to do and accomplish in his career, because you are seeing more and more people being comfortable in their skin and coming out and being able to do it. I'm older than he is, but I still felt a sense of empowerment by watching him be brave enough to live it and just be out there and open. And, I think that's why it's important. I think it matters because I get messages all the time saying, thank you. And I'm an artist as well. And I was told that I would have to hide this part of myself in order to do it. And I'm seeing you do it. And now I'm knowing that I can do the same thing. So that's why I think it's important.
Well, and in 2023, we still have managers and producers saying, it's better for your career if you don't do this. So for every Johnny Manuel, for every Lil Nas X, there is still a group of people that are told to hide who they are.
Well, you brought up touring with NSYNC. Look at Lance Bass.
Right?
Lance Bass,
back then,
NSYNC's done and over.
Yeah.
His career is pretty much, I shouldn't say it is over because, he is still doing things, but definitely not during the NSYNC days would he have been able to come out. And I don't know which one of the Backstreet Boys is still yet to come out, but I know who I think. Statistically, it has to be half of one, right?
I have my curious. I'm still waiting for Justin. I know he's got kids and is married, but it could happen.
That's just a dream. That's
Justin,
a dream.
Oh, is that what that? Shoot.
Yeah.
It's a goal. It's not a dream. It's a goal. And I want to say this next part, you're going to hear a voice out of the ether because Tom Campbell is on the board, so he's behind you. But this next question, I want to start with you, Tom, because I wrestled with how do I kind of frame the questions. We've had talks on this show before. When you go to work, you have a specific way you want to be, and you don't want to be like, hey, here's my resume, and it tells you how long I've been gay, and you know what I mean. And so one of my questions I wrote down was, how do we reconcile a person's right to their privacy against a need to be seen? And Tom, what is that like for you? Because you're in this room, we're loud, but you have a different way. Right. So I'm just curious.
For me, my priority is making sure that my life doesn't get interrupted and ruined by me being out, and that could happen depending on the people I'm around and the jobs I take, that I have to take, the path I decide in my life. So that's priority number one. And even if you're a public figure, taking care of yourself is priority number one. So I think, to me, people come out when they're ready. There's no obligation to come out. There shouldn't be pressure on people to come out if they're not ready. That's just the general rule to me.
Yeah. And I mean, let's be honest, I think the three of us come from a day when, like, Michelangelo Signorile was out there outing people. That was his big thing. That was when forced outing was the hot button topic, because he would just, like, speak out of turn, and it was this. Here's the thing that I think. As long as those of us who are loud and unafraid, we shouldn't disrespect those that are on a different journey, but we should be louder so that it can balance that, so we can be seen more. Because it's not fair. It wouldn't be fair for me to sit in this room week after week after week and be like, oh, Tom, you know what I mean? That's not right. Tom has a life, and he's right. Mental health, listen, we don't take care of it enough. I am your poster boy. But I was trying to think of, we have to be, I was having this conversation today with an older gentleman in the queer community, and we have to find a way to respect each other. You know what I mean? We do need to be seen, but there's an army of us. You know what I mean?
I do think there's an exception to actually, I won't even say to respecting someone's privacy in that.
Yeah.
Like, I look at, like, Aaron Schock, the representative.
Right.
You do not get to be a closeted queer man and fight against us at the same time.
If you are
and I will
looking
out
to
you
hurt
so
us.
goddamn quick if that's what you're doing.
Also,
because
there's Lady
no.
G.
Yeah. That goes against it all. And I will. You lost your privacy at that point, if that is what it is.
And I am with you. If they're coming for us, if they are a gay man and they're closeted and yet they're coming after us in a way to harm, then all bets are off. I'm with that. I mean, I think that's where Queer Nation back in the 80s, a lot of it was like they were tired. They were tired of the people who said that they cared treating us bad, so they got militant. Now listen, I am a dainty flower, and I don't want to get militant, but I will get fucking loud. You know what I mean? To do this. So that's
our
very
power
good
now,
point.
though. That's the power we have, is
Yeah.
to do that. I'm fortunate enough that you bring me onto this podcast for
I love it.
the 803rd time, so that I can be loud.
No matter how many people complain. Just kidding.
And my question is, I maybe you'd answer this. I was focusing on the board, so I'm sorry.
Sure. No
did was that a thought on your end when you were getting into music? Were you too young to really process that? What was that like for you, deciding if that detail would be public? And then do you regret how things kind of went from there?
It's hard to hear him because he is.
Oh, sure. So he's basically saying, you started so young. So basically, you're coming into your own and figuring out your queer identity or gay or however you identify. Was that difficult? And do you ever go back and go, I regret some of the decisions I made?
Like being out.
Yeah, being out at all. Like, when did that moment come where you're like, oh, no, I'm gay, and I'm going to just, you know what I mean?
Oh, it was definitely difficult. I've always known I was gay. I was talking to my husband about it before because he said he didn't really understand until maybe high school that he was gay. And I have, as far back as I can remember, I've known. And I've also known, because I grew up, in the Christian church in Michigan, that you don't speak of it. It was sort of that love the sinner, hate the sin type. And it really impacted me once I was signed, because there were adults at the record label, people that I looked up to who had done this for years, saying to me, you can never tell anybody this. Like, this is something that you will have to hide forever, right? And so I did exactly that. And we just never spoke about it. It was very interesting. They also, set me up on dates with girls and had people take photographs of us so that it looked like whatever. It was a thing, and it really messes with your psyche. It wasn't until years later I decided on my own to move to San Francisco, completely just chill out from the business for a while, and have the experience. And I was guided. I had gay men who were a bit older than I was to sort of like help me throughout the process. And then I moved to New York and met more wonderful queer people who supported me and helped me through the situation. And I'm just now arriving at the point where, I mean, like even last year, there were managers and stylists and stuff telling me that I couldn't wear certain things and I couldn't sound a certain way. You know, well, it was 2021 that happened, but it's just very interesting to me that we've come so far and yet, you know, we really haven't. Like people say, oh no, it's fine now because we have Lil Nas X and because we have Sam Smith and because and it's like it's actually not. I'm still faced with homophobia all the time in the record industry. So
and just like I was saying, it doesn't matter. I love that people always think in the industry, they're like, well, there's 3 people. There's 3 queer people. We don't need anybody else. You know?
Well, there's about 500 million of them.
Exactly.
It's just like, come on, how many gay actors in Hollywood, out actors, are there?
Exactly.
There's not. There's so many.
The part of Hollywood that is still so discriminatory, they can limit your career. I was just watching, of course, where is it? Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh my God, that was so good.
One of the actors on it is an Asian actor, Ke Huy Quan. He was in The Temple of Doom. He was in The Goonies.
That was him?
That was him. And I saw him on a round table. No,
different.
The other Goonies
Chunk.
guy, Chunk,
Truffle
is the
Shuffle.
lawyer.
He's
It's
the
actually
lawyer.
Chunk is actually his lawyer. But he said
That's amazing.
His dream was to always act. But it's been 40 years since The Goonies, and it isn't until now that he's able to come back in. He gives a lot of credit to Crazy Rich Asians, to Easter Sunday. He goes, and it's all he ever wanted to do, but no one wanted to talk to him because he wasn't. And look, he wins a Golden Globe, you know, all these 40 years later. And that's the thing I want people to understand. It's not just, you know, queer people. It is Asian people. It's, Latin American people. We have this.
Well, then you have someone like Johnny with intersectionality it's a double whammy, really.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
You're a Black queer person, so it's like you have all that extra that's working against you.
Do you, at this point in your career, do you waste any energy on noticing it, or do you still notice it and it's still a challenge?
I'm surrounded. Me and my entire team, I think, is queer. I don't think there's anybody that works around me that's not queer, and we all face it every single day. And it's something that we would love to not have to deal with or face on a daily basis, but we just do, because my manager is going into meetings with these executives and is faced with the same thing that I'm faced with as an artist. You know, people won't take him seriously because he's a queer man, you know, even though he's been doing this for years and is extremely bright. It's a thing. Yeah, I definitely. And then we're also met with a lot of, interestingly enough, like also here in Australia, it's a lot of, oh, we don't really play that tempo of music, or, you know, it's yeah. I mean, racism and homophobia is very much still alive and present.
And they use coded words, and I have to say I hadn't heard that one before, but I'm gonna keep my ear out. We don't really play that tempo of music. Oh, okay.
And you're like, this is a 4 on the floor. What are you talking about?
What is happening? Well, and you know what's even more funny is these, a lot of them, these cis white men that are running entertainment. And I want to always be like, does someone need to send them a memo? Because they're actually in the minority. It isn't the other way around. But for some reason, they have attained this power to where they don't give a shit. You know what I mean? It's going to be their way. And you're going to thank them if they allow you to exist in the entertainment industry. Yeah. And I have to say, it makes a lot of sense how you said your whole team is queer, because we're getting all these great emails and I'm reading things and I'm like, they are so supportive. I was excited because I've been in this game for a little while. And now I'm like, oh, I got you. I understand.
So I do have a question about with the music industry, because I look at, you know, in the arts in general, whether, you know, it's you're painting as your medium or acting, and like one of the big pushes has been representation in gay roles. Why are we having heterosexual actors playing queer characters?
Right.
And then you have someone like Billy Eichner, which that movie was amazing.
So good.
But casting queer people in queer roles, and I mean, you don't hear queer anthems in music. You know what I mean? Like, it's just there's not a lot of that.
There's a separate whole list that we don't hear about in mainstream.
There's not. I can't. Is it? What would you think is like the comparison to really making sure that queer artists in the music industry are put on the forefront in that area? Is it like when we go to Pride and we hear Cher and the dance?
Cyndi Lauper.
Why don't we have like? Is it that's where like because Lil Nas X is the top of all those playlists in the last couple of years? Is that would you say that would be a fair comparison? Is that who we're playing in clubs or who we're making like the face of Pride and that kind of stuff? Who are rising up to lift the queer artists in the music industry?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a pretty fair comparison. I think it's important for us, like you say, to support each other and like amplify each other's voices.
How do we create more of this amazing music that we lift up and they're on the top of the charts with like Lil Nas X and Cher? Is one of those things as we need to as a community? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Community to have them be the ones played in the club, lift them up there so it has more airplay.
Absolutely, I think that's the key. Honestly, because there have been so many times where, I have a lot of friends who are queer artists and they have incredible music and their projects were out before mine and nobody hears them. They fall upon deaf ears and I'm out and I'm hearing this other music and I'm like, why couldn't this be, at Pride and in these settings where it would be really wonderful if it was, mainly queer artists that we were hearing. I mean, but come on, I love Kylie. I love Cher.
Right. We love them.
You look at and I mean, this is going to be so controversial, and you're going to get hate mail. But I was so pissed that Taylor Swift became like a queer icon because she had drag queens in a music video. Come on,
that's what did it. Well, you know what it was is I think we were so thirsty to feel welcome.
Yeah,
and she showed welcome, and people were like, "Woo!"
And I'm not going to discount the support from her in any way whatsoever, but that I equate to a straight person playing a queer role.
Interesting.
Well, and she used to be the secular Mormon popular music choice, and then as soon as she started,
she was young like you were. She
Katy
was
Perry started as a Christian artist.
As soon as Taylor Swift went away from country, the Mormons kind of lost interest in her.
So do you think that brings up an interesting point? Do you think that also we as a queer community, however we identify in that umbrella, shoot ourselves in the foot sometimes? Like we stop other artists, and sometimes I hate to say it, but call them self-hating gays or whatever, I feel are also part of this because I've met them. Do you think that plays a part?
Yes.
This is my favorite thing. So you people you will see him on camera, but the look on your face.
I see it. I can see your face even though you can't see me.
Yeah.
And it is cracking me up every reaction that you're having.
There was a whole conversation that just happened in your head that how do I say what I want to say? And then and the way you say it is, yes, I do.
I do. I absolutely do. And I have I'm at parties and have conversations with people who are, as you say, these self-hating gays, and they do have negative things to say about queer actors, queer artists, in different ways. And it's like, it's very interesting because you're part of the problem.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I completely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard enough when we are fighting a mainstream cis white system that's been there, and then add on part of our own community, and it is at times it can kick you in the balls, to be honest. It can just take you down. But I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, by surrounding yourself with queer creative energy, it allows you to not get taken down as easily, at least not in attitude, because it takes a lot of fortitude to keep pushing. Yeah. So that's the key.
I think it's definitely the key. A lot of I'm going into sessions for my second project. I have 4 songs recorded already, but I'm working with other queer songwriters, queer producers, queer musicians, and I'm surrounding myself in it because I think it's important. And also these people are fucking talented. It's just, and as long as the music is great, and I don't understand why we couldn't have all queer musicians and queer producers and songwriters on this.
It's funny because people act like, as artists in the queer community, we're not going to have quality on the foremost of our, just like everybody else, we want to put out good music, good creative
all
things.
The people that say, well, why does it matter? I mean, if they're the best of the job, they're the best. What matters is because this big part of who our identity is part of the reason we haven't been able to make it, or part of the reason that we were held back.
Yeah.
So it's very important to lift each other up because we weren't given all of those opportunities, or we were held back because of them.
Right. Well, and you guys, we mentioned the wonderful divas that we have, worshipped and loved for so long. I think because for a very long time, that was our only option. We needed to find something we connected to. Women who were going to be loud and be strong and let out this good music. We're going to put our energy there. And now I love them all, and they need to share the stage. Gaga, I love you now. And here's the thing. Most of them know exactly who their big fan base is, and they're willing to be like, hey, I'm going to share the stage with you. Gaga's great at that, but all of them are. You know what I mean? And don't get me started on Kylie. I have a friend who will fly anywhere in the world when she does, and I mean anywhere. He's been to so many of her concerts. So these amazing icons that we have, now it's time to create our own icons that are queer based.
And I think that we need to hold those our current icons accountable for that.
Yeah.
That they are the ones with the platform and the ability to help us.
Yeah.
And if you really want to call yourself an ally, then that's what you need to have on the first and foremost.
Exactly.
If you know a talented queer artist and you have the stage, then you share that.
Yeah.
Because you can't say I'm a queer ally and then say, yeah, but I'm not going to share with you.
Yeah. And that happens a lot. I wanted to ask, when you did the Whitney song that had millions upon millions of views.
Oh my God, I also
YouTube.
remember seeing that.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that. And I'm just kind of like a little fangirling right now. Right. Just a little bit. And I'm going to go home and blast that like over and over again.
Right. Well, and remind me, because I don't remember what year it was. Was Whitney still alive at that time?
She was not. No, it was 2017.
She was listening and with you. But because I was like, what did she say? Because probably one of the greatest voices I think we've ever seen was, yeah. I don't know how we ever have another one. I mean, there's some great voices out there. But, I was really hoping maybe it was like 15, when you were 15 or something. Just to have the Whitney part of all that thing. So, we talk about, showing up in our lives, whether we're awesome pop stars or we're sitting here. You're an amazing lender, and I just am, whatever I am. But I like to think about the overall queer community. I don't think it's ever easy anywhere. Every day that I get up, I have to make the decision of how I'm going to show up. And I will say, sometimes I'm like, Jonathan, why did you and your producer name it the QueerCentric? Because sometimes I wear the t-shirt at the grocery store and I forget. And people have, certain opinions about things. So every day I have to decide, am I going to show up as who I am today? And I think it doesn't matter what walk of life we do, it's hard. How do you, when you're not surrounded by the people who love you, when you're not with your husband and you're just out in LA, which is its own world, are there still moments that you're like, oh my goodness, I have to choose to show up right now?
Yes. Interestingly, for me, it's when I'm at the barbershop.
Really?
Yeah, because the conversations, a lot of times, I have the perfect example, actually. I was in the barbershop in LA. This was maybe 2021. I was there working. And someone was watching, they had like YouTube clips playing in the background. And my video came up, the Whitney Houston song. And I guess they didn't realize that it was the same person or something. And one of the barbers said, oh my God, this guy has a great voice, which was a really awkward thing to sit through, because then another guy said, oh, have you seen this audition of his, and have you seen this? So they started playing different auditions, and I'm there and I'm actually getting my haircut at the time. And these were younger barbers. And then one of the guys said, yeah, but you can hear that he's gay. And then someone else was like, oh, well, I didn't know he was an F word. And someone else was like, well, why does it matter? And it was this whole thing. And so I sat there and I was like, whoa, like this is one of those moments where, you know, I obviously have to say something. How do I go about this? And so I just said, actually, that's me singing. And he was like, no, it's not. And there was this moment of shock on his face. And I was like, and I'm definitely gay. And then it was just silent. And then I got my hair cut and it was just silent. And then my barber goes, I've never heard someone sing like that. And then people started talking about the talent and a different thing. But I just remember my heart beating out of my chest because I don't think that was the most confronting moment I think I've ever had in having to show up for myself as a representation of our community. You know, it was, so yeah, sometimes, but it's been years, like for years, I remember conversations were had in the barbershop and it was always about, you know, gay Black men and F word this and blah, blah, blah. And it was just, I sat there in silence a lot of times out of fear and not knowing what to say. So it did feel good to be in a space where I could speak up in that way, in that moment.
And what courage. Like, first of all, did you ever go back?
Yeah, I did.
You did. That's even more courage. But I think it's so funny. I think there is
That's why the representation matters, though, is that you were in a place that you were comfortable enough and felt safe that you could, my heart is pounding as you're telling that story.
Right.
But the idea that you were comfortable enough just saying in a public space, yeah, that's me, and yeah, I'm gay.
Yeah.
I remember that I would be terrified for that. And it was a friend of mine at their wedding before we could get married here.
Yeah.
They got married in Vancouver, at Victoria in Canada.
Yeah.
And what he had said at his wedding was, when you come out, it's every person that supports you becomes a rope in the safety net.
Yeah.
And at some point, you build a brick wall behind you.
Yeah.
But you can't do that without the representation and the support of others.
Yeah. And that's true. And I think that's why when we listen, we have a long way to go, but thank God we've come where we've come. And do you also think, I think about, they were so bold in their opinions, and it's because there was an anonymity because they didn't know you were there. You know what I mean? And that, I think, is the problem right now with social media and society and everything, is it offers this anonymity. So these people are saying they don't have to have any proof in what they're saying. They get to be as ugly as they want to be. And then that moment where you stand up and say, no, that's me, and I am gay. So forces them to have to go, maybe I'm an asshole, and now I have to look at this. And I'm so glad they were willing to hear you. But I think that conversation is happening in a million other locations at the same time without someone there to speak up for it. Yeah. And it's not just like, Tom, you go to a barbershop to get your haircut, right?
I do.
Yeah. You go to that one.
Which one? The man shop?
Uh-huh.
You go to the man shop.
Okay. Oh. I've been there. I don't always go there.
That's what I equated. I don't know.
I hate the man shop.
Johnny, it's literally called the man shop. And it's like it's all women that cut. And it's kind of like Hooters for barbers. Yeah. And all of their clippers are in tool belts. Yeah. They all kind of wear like little tank tops.
Listen, it's my brother's
There's a pool
dream,
table, I think, there. No, it's very, so hyper masculine.
Yes. Yes.
That's what I pictured happening when you're sitting at your barbershop. That is the white equivalent, is the man shop.
Yes, it's a true statement. Well, Tom, what is because it's a culture, I think. Barbershops are a very specific culture unto themselves. Tom, when you go, what do you feel? What's it like for you?
My default setting is acting straight, and until I really get the feel that it's
mine too.
Yeah. Okay. So my default is acting straight, and there actually is there's a shop called Quicks in Spokane. And I think the way they market themselves is they're basically a black barber shop, but they'll cut white people's hair, and they do a really great job.
What a marketing campaign!
Yeah, I mean that's basically, it seems their specialty is black hair. So I've been in there, and they do a really good job. They're really affordable, but depending on their conversation, I mean the guys are really cool and they're really down to earth, and I've never felt like there's any risk there. So some of them know I'm gay. I don't know if they talk around with each other, but some of them know I'm gay.
Next time you go and invite me, we'll find out real quick.
Yeah.
But
QueerCentric on location.
Yeah, exactly. Here we are. But these are the things, the spaces we exist in, and choosing to exist in spaces that maybe are not comfortable is part of the front lines. You know what I mean? Like, do you have spaces in your life, Corey, where you have to, like, it's a little harder?
Have you seen the lending industry? Have you seen banking?
I mean,
you know who runs banking? Old white dudes.
Yes, that's true.
And I mean, it's privilege. I'm a white dude. And that is, but I also like right now, and Johnny, you can see I'm a white dude with bright purple hair. Like I'm kind of wearing it out. But that's kind of part of my representation now is I'm going to these places. I'm successful in my business. I'm good at what I do. I've been around for a while, and I am unapologetically queer everywhere that I go.
Right.
And it's not the forefront of who I am, but for the same reason that like I joined the IMBA. That's one of our local queer business alliances. That I put my pronouns on my business cards and in my email signature because yes, I'm he, him, but people see that may not identify as binary or and the representation makes them feel comfortable. And then the wrong people don't even see that.
Right. Yeah. That's not even.
So I can, it's, it's like signal and it's really nice. But again, I have the privilege of, I'm still a white dude.
Yeah. Do you know, talk about signals, gay men kind of evolved from different ways of letting people know. Did you know that it used to be a paperclip on your collar would let others know that you were gay? This was like 30 or 40. Wait, I have to check my age. Hold on.
Would that be like pre-earring?
Maybe it's 50 years ago. It might be 50 years ago.
Because the earring thing.
This was pre-earring.
And then the hanky
because
code
men shouldn't wear an earring because that automatically made them feminine. We have been signaling to each other how to exist, right? You got two. You are comfortable and out. And you better be because you're married. So
wait, two earrings or two paper clips?
Both. That is how out he is. He gonna put some paper clips on now. It's a whole thing.
I have a paperclip lapel pin.
Wait, is that serious?
I do.
Oh,
and
that is amazing.
I just saw it and I was like, oh, that's cute. Yeah. So me not even knowing this, and I still bought it.
Right? So and let's talk actually, this is a really good time for us to talk about the single that we get to play of yours, which I'm super excited for all of our listeners who get to hear this. Wonderful. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Out of Time?
Yeah, sure. Out of Time, I wrote it in LA with Aiden LaPrette and Misha Mandel. We wrote it about my journey in the industry, and as the years go by, they start to pile up, and I wonder if I've run out of time in order to make this dream come true, sort of thing. And I've tried so hard. I've traveled all over the world trying to, make it happen. And so that's really what the basis of the song is.
I think that's amazing. So everybody, we're going to take a brief break and listen to Johnny Manuel, Out of Time.
It's sad if you love something, gotta let it go. And I'm right here to let you know. Been across the world, and I keep on losing hope in search of it, in search of it. Thought I lost it all, slowly came apart. Didn't really know myself, was caught in something, couldn't help it. Feels like a new start, came out of the dark. Finally see how I could have it automatic, call it magic. Remember when I hurt so badly, I was in another country, and I couldn't call nobody. All I heard were empty sorries. Now I only see more clearly. I pictured all the things that are for me. Now I'm on my way and slowly if it comes back to you, know that it's yours to use. I've tried so many times to find a way to fit. Just know if it comes back to you, know that it's yours to use. The only thing I know is right. You call it a crime, I hope I'm not out of time. Oh. pull me up. Now I'm on my way in slowly. If it comes back to you, know that it's yours to use. I tried so many times to find a way to fit. Just know if it comes back to you, know that it's yours to use. The only thing I know is right. If I gotta cry, I hope I'm not out of time. If I gotta cry, I hope I'm not out of time.
That was so good. I'm just amazed
I love it.
at how. Also, you get writing credit on every song on your EP. That's a big deal in
Yeah, I
in
write
LA.
on every song that I record now.
I think the big deal is you get credit for it, because a lot of artists will write on the songs and then the label's like, we're gonna say it was written by Christina Aguilera and you didn't have anything to do with it.
I
You know?
have such good protection now. I have such a great management team and a PR team, and they look after me. So I definitely get credit on everything.
That's amazing. I think that's amazing. I have to say, you mentioned what Out of Time was like, that moment, or those moments, really, where you sit and you go, did I wait too long, or is it too far? And I have to tell you, what I love about your music is it's very relatable. Like, just today, before I even got this song to know that we were going to play it, I was talking to a friend of mine and I said, sometimes I wonder if I've overstayed my welcome. So every artist has those moments. Everybody who is creative and pushing, those moments of, is this it? Is there an expiration date? And in Hollywood, I think they would like us to think there is, but there really isn't.
I've unsubscribed. I don't believe in it anymore. I used to, because I got signed so young. And, when I was like 20, they were like, well, you only got a couple years left, so you better figure it out. And it's like, it's so absurd to really think about that and think that I feel like I'm just now reaching my peak, and sort of like I'm getting my stride, especially with my songwriting and my creativity. I feel like now I'm sort of finally living in my skin, and I don't know. I just feel like I'm just getting started. I know I've said that a couple times, but it's really truly how I feel. I feel like this is the inception for me, and from here on out, it's just gonna get better. So
now, if you haven't already, when are you going to write that song, Inception? I think it's a great title. So just put my name in the thank you notes.
I was going to say, now you need credit.
All I need is I was this weirdo. I was on his show, and this is what he said. I have to say, as we begin to wind down the show, I did want to I like to ask a question for everybody in the room. How do we be better in our community to support each other who are choosing to show up as their authentic selves, and respecting those who this is not their thing? So, Corey, what would you say?
Just to continue to do it, and I think that what we all need to do is push our own comfort. You have to push your own comfort, and whatever level that is, whether it be that you just tell someone one day that you're gay, that coming out is pushing people's comfort. Yeah. If it's going to a queer event, if it's supporting a queer-owned business, to the point that, if you tell someone at a barbershop, yeah, I'm gay, it's pushing your own comfort and supporting, recognizing, and applauding those that do that. And hopefully that it'll just spread from there and people will continue to.
I love that. Johnny, in your very unique experience in industries that we're not in, and all of this very high profile stuff, how would you encourage people to continue to show up?
Yeah, I think just being your authentic self in whatever moment that you're in, allowing yourself to accept wherever you are at. Like, I have a friend who's still in Michigan, in Grand Rapids, who has a wife and children, and who recently said, I am gay. I'm not ready to tell anyone else, but I needed to tell someone, and you're that person. And I was very happy that they felt comfortable enough to come to me and say that. And you don't need to tell anyone else right now. Like, it's everyone's, you have to go at your own pace. And it's really, really important that you do that. But, for me personally, it's because I'm in this certain space, I have to show up as myself, as authentically and as brave as I can be in the moment that I'm in, and allow myself that space.
And as an artist, I mean, it's the only way to be authentic. And so the struggle is 10 times more when you're trying to be something that you're not. Tom, what would you say to people?
Can you repeat the question?
How would you encourage people to continue to show up in their lives in whatever space that they inhabit?
I mean, I guess part of being sort of a what's the word for it? A voice for your community is not getting too comfortable, and that's not a fun answer. It's just, if you really want to push progress, and be able to say to yourself that you've done everything you can, you got to get outside your comfort zone, and you got to get other people outside their comfort zone, and that's not always fun. But that's how progress has always happened: is people being really uncomfortable, uncomfortable. Yeah. And then eventually they realize, I guess this isn't life or death. I guess I'm fine.
Right. Yeah. Which is what we all hope. So you had mentioned growing up in the Christian church. So my dad was a Southern Baptist minister. So this is how my mom reacts to me, because now I have a show that has a word she won't say. So she'll always, centric. That's the, and she's just like, oh yeah, I heard about your show.
Your bleep-centric show.
My brother listened, and she's like, I've heard about your show, but I don't think I'll listen. I'm like, that's okay. It's probably not your audience. But I would say the same thing. It's for me, it is always going to be a daily choice. We find ourselves, listen, when I moved back to Spokane from LA, it's way more conservative than I think I allowed myself to remember. And so that means, and I'm like, I want to be super loud in this town. And that means you keep showing up, and every day I have to remind myself there's a reason. And it's okay, and I'm going to wear my sweatshirt, or I'm going to wear my T-shirt, and you have to keep going. You know what I mean? I think that's the key, is you have to keep going. So I have to say thank you to everybody in this room. I love really good conversations. I love deep conversation. I love dissecting them. And I love that this time we also were able to bring in the artist, doing wonderful work out there, because art is meant to reflect the society that it's in, and I don't think we've allowed it as much as we should. And so now artists like you, Johnny, are doing that, and more are showing up and saying, this is who I am. And the more we do it, maybe the more we'll be allowed to do it. Eventually, the powers that be have to, they're going to break to society. So when society starts, being more forthcoming and celebrating, that's how that goes. Now, before we wrap up, just a business of our show. Remember, speaking of which, if you're watching or you're listening, you know that on February 25th, we are doing That's Entertainment, which is our live show. And it's going to feel a lot like going to Kimmel or watching Fallon. So it's a late night show that Spokane can take a lot of pride in, and it's the big queer guy is going to be right at the front. And we need your support. So we need you to show up. I need 250 people. So we're going to agree in this room. We're going to get 250 people there. It's coming. We're planning every single day, and we're very excited to bring that to you. Remember, the show itself drops every Tuesday. You can catch the video podcast version every Friday, and follow us on socials. We're having a lot of fun. So until next time, everybody,